In 2023, the world situation continues to become complicated. While the Russia-Ukraine conflict is becoming more and more fierce, new hotspots have appeared for military coups, conflicts, local wars, to strategic competition between major countries taking place, harshly making the global security picture more dark colors. To illustrate the picture, today, we will summarize and introduce 10 outstanding world defense and military events in 2023. Military conflict between Israel and the Hamas movement. On October 7, 2023, the Islamic movement Hamas suddenly launched the largest attack in recent years on Israeli territory when using gunmen to cross the border, combined with thousands of rockets. Heavy artillery was fired from the Gaza Strip, taking hundreds of hostages and causing more than 1,200 casualties. In response to that action, Israel launched a military campaign called Iron Swords, a comprehensive attack on Hamas forces in the Gaza Strip. The international community expressed deep concern because the conflict has destroyed almost all infrastructure in the Gaza Strip, killed more than 17,000 Palestinians, and is causing a serious humanitarian crisis. In particular, the conflict risks escalating into a regional war by attracting more and more Muslim jihad forces to participate. Russia's special military campaign in Ukraine has no end. Starting in February 2022 up to now, Russia's special military campaign in Ukraine is still fierce and has not come to an end. In particular, recently, Ukraine launched a counterattack to retake areas controlled by Russia. However, the results of this counterattack were not what Kiev expected. Fighting is still going on between the two sides in many strategically important areas in eastern Ukraine. Nearly 2 years have passed. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine not only consumes a lot of resources and causes losses that are hard to measure for both sides, but also has a negative impact on the global security environment. Up to now, because the views and positions of both Kiev and Moscow are completely different, the international community's expectations of a ceasefire agreement to end this conflict are still a distant prospect. Military coups broke out in many African countries. On July 26, 2023, the Niger army carried out a coup to overthrow the government of President Mohamed Bazoum. This is the fifth military coup in Niger since the country gained independence in 1960. It is worth mentioning that, while the shadow of the coup in Niger was still covering the region, another military coup broke out in Gabon August 30, 2023, shaking Africa. The military coups that broke out in Niger and Gabon are a continuation of the wave of coups that have continuously taken place in recent years. Only from 2019 until now, from Sudan 2019, 2021 to the Republic of Chad 2021, Mali 2020, 2021, Guinea 2021, Burkina Faso 2022. The military has overthrown the democratic government one after another, war and rise to power. Observers say that military coups in Africa are both the result of many combined conflicts and the cause of instability for countries and the entire continent. NATO adopts comprehensive defense strategy. On July 12, 2023, in Vilnius, Lithuania, the NATO summit approved the comprehensive defense strategy, considered the strongest and most detailed of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization NATO since the end of the Cold War. Accordingly, NATO will establish a force of about 300,000 troops that is always in a high state of combat readiness, able to be deployed to any conflict on a global scale. At the same time, the Indo-Pacific is identified as a key strategic region, committed to increasing the presence of the Navy and Air Force and establishing a representative office in Japan to protect the security and strategic interests of the alliance in this region. NATO also approved a new defense production plan to unify joint procurement, increase production capacity, and improved interoperability between member countries, NATO officials expect. The comprehensive defense strategy allows NATO to gain comprehensive superiority on land, in space, at sea and in space against any potential adversary, etc. Russia and China strongly objected, considering the decisions adopted by NATO as outdated thinking of the Cold War period, not beneficial to world security, stability, and peace. The US, Japan, and South Korea signed an agreement to establish a trilateral security alliance. On August 18, 2023, at Camp David, USA, the leaders of the US, Japan, and South Korea signed an agreement to establish a trilateral security alliance. According to this agreement, the three countries will work together to build a common vision and basic principles of cooperation, establishing comprehensive and multi-layered cooperation mechanisms in many different fields at all levels. The parties also committed to strengthen security cooperation for peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula and in the Indo-Pacific region, cooperate to deal with common threats, especially cooperative measures to respond to North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, as well as rising tensions in the East Sea, along with other regional security mechanisms in which the US plays a leading role, such as the US-UK-Australia Military Alliance AUKUS. The Diamond Quadrilateral QUAD includes the US, Japan, Australia, and India. The US's establishment of a trilateral security alliance between the US, Japan, South Korea will make regional security even more complicated. Russia withdrew from many important international treaties. On November 2, 2023, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a law on the revocation of ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty CTBT, a multilateral agreement that bans all nuclear tests from being carried out for peaceful or military purposes. Russia's cancellation of ratification of the CTBT treaty ensures balance for the US in the field of nuclear testing when Washington has not yet ratified the treaty. Next, on November 7th and 9th, 2023, Russia respectively announced its decision to withdraw from the Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe (CFE) and the Agreement on the Cessation of the Use of Nuclear Weapons with Japan, signed by the two countries in October 1993. Previously, on February 28, 2023, President Vladimir Putin also signed the law suspending participation in the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty New START, which is considered the last strategic arms treaty between nuclear superpowers after the US unilaterally withdrew from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Inf Treaty in 2019 and the Open Skies Treaty OTS in 2020. This is a sign of escalating tensions in the already heated Russia-NATO relationship, with the root of NATO's lack of goodwill causing many concerns in the international community. North Korea claims to be a global nuclear power. On November 6, 2023, North Korea announced that it had successfully built the world's most powerful nuclear force. Previously, on September 28, 2023, the Supreme People's Assembly of North Korea unanimously approved amending the Constitution and permanently incorporating the nuclear weapons policy into the country's basic law. In 2023, North Korea has repeatedly tested long-range missiles, which military experts assess as capable of carrying nuclear warheads. Notably, on July 13, 2023, North Korea successfully launched the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile ICBM Hwasong-18 with a range of more than 1,000 kilometers. Advances in missile industry, along with the North Korean leader's declaration of the country's status as a global nuclear power, make it difficult for the situation in Northeast Asia to calm down overnight. Finland officially joined NATO. On April 4, 2023, Finland officially became the 31st member of NATO. According to Western scholars, joining NATO will help Finland ensure national security. At the same time, strengthening this military alliance and creating conditions for a larger security framework in Northern Europe. However, this event combined with the crisis in Ukraine created a significant shift towards strong militarization of the region. In particular, it is easy to see that when Finland becomes a NATO member, the length of Russia's border with NATO member countries will double, adding nearly 1,300 kilometers on land and sea. Large-scale military exercises in many places around the world. In 2023, the world continues to witness an increase in military exercises in terms of scope, scale, type, and nature. In Asia-Pacific, in addition to annual joint exercises with allies, the US along with Indonesia, Australia, Japan, Singapore, France, and the UK organize a multinational exercise called Garuda Super Shield 2023. In the EC, large-scale bilateral and multilateral exercises have continuously taken place between the US and Australia, Canada, Japan, and New Zealand, between Indonesia and 36 other countries, and between Australia and the Philippines. Notably, for the first time, 10 member countries of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations (ASEAN) organized a military exercise of a non-combat nature in this hot sea. Equally exciting, in the Gulf of Oman, March 2023, China, Iran, and Russia held the joint naval exercise Maritime Security Belt 2023. In the Middle East, August 2023, for the first time, India participated in the largest naval, land, Air Force exercise Bright Star 23 with 33 countries organized by Egypt. In particular, in mid-June 2023, on the Old Continent, NATO conducted the largest Air Force exercise ever called Air Defender 23, with the participation of 10,000 troops and 250 fighter aircraft from 25 countries. Many countries launch military satellites into orbit. In addition to the US, Russia, and China, they are the powers that launch the world's leading number of military satellites to serve their own military programs and plans. By 2023, many developing countries will also research and launch successful satellites, military satellite launch into orbit. On September 27, 2023, Iran successfully launched a military satellite, marking another achievement in the country's space technology. After two unsuccessful attempts, on November 22, 2023, North Korea announced the successful launch of a military surveillance satellite into orbit, demonstrating Pyongyang's ability to create booster rockets. Immediately, on December 2, 2023, South Korea also successfully launched its first military reconnaissance satellite into orbit. Many countries, such as India, Canada, Mexico, and Israel, all plan to launch military satellites in 2023 or early 2024, creating many consequences for the race to militarize space, which is extremely expensive and hidden, contains many risks to global security and stability. Although half of 2024 is now over, the 10 outstanding defense and military events in the world in 2023 mentioned above are and will continue, sparking global conflict, creating an extremely unstable world in 2024 and the remaining years of this decade. Thank you for watching the video. If you find the video useful, please leave me one like and one channel subscription. See you again in the next videos.